As I call on our first reader, let me give you a background. I'm sure you all are very familiar with her, but she is the first endorser of Freeway that launched Freeway to the Philippines, currently a communications major at UCLA, and a mom of two very good-looking children, 4-year-old Sakura and 2-year-old Kenobi. And as you will see in a bit, she is as fresh and beautiful as ever. She'll be reading from A Woman with Two Navels. Now, The Woman Who Had Two Navels is arguably the foremost Filipino novel in English. Its theme is nothing short of magnificent: the search of Filipino identity. In its main character, Connie, who makes the grotesque claim that she has two navels, Nick Joaquin creates the penultimate figure of the Filipino, with one umbilical cord tied to her Hispanic heritage and the other tied to her American past. The novel's search for identity predates today's TV show, if you're familiar with Kyle XY, the television character who, in contrast to Connie, has no navel and therefore no identity. Indeed, Kyle is shown to have a planetary personality. He is, of course, an extraterrestrial. Now, compared with him, Connie not only has a navel, she has two. While the title of the novel refers to the duality or split personality of the Filipino, to Nick Joaquin, this is not exactly a problem. After all, the existence of the navel presupposes that the Filipino is not a tabula rasa. He is not a blank tablet. He already does have an identity, even two identities. To Nick Joaquin, how to reconcile these two personalities, which to some extent are antipodal, is the task of the modern Filipino. Now, the excerpt from the novel that's going to be read tonight has Connie confiding to Paco, who is a seminarian and the moral pivot of the narrative. She reveals to him the source of her nervous breakdown that triggers her bizarre claim that she has two navels. She tells him her discovery that her husband had been her mother's lover. Please welcome Tongi.
The woman who had two navels. When she told him she had two navels, he believed her at once. She seemed so urgently, so desperately serious, and besides, what would be the point in telling a lie like that, he asked himself, while she asked him if she could help her, if he could arrange something surgical, an operation. But I'm only a horse doctor, he apologized, to which she retorted that, well, if he could fix up horses. And she cried that it was urgent. Her whole life depended on it. He inquired how old she was, and noting, while she replied that she was 30, how her eyes turned cagey for the first time since she came into the room, he wondered, putting on his spectacles, if she might be knocking off a few years, but could not tell, for the stylized face with a black hat pulled low over it recorded no time in years, only in hours. But does my age matter? She asked, turning coy. Are you married? He primly pursued. She nodded, and slipping off a glove, displayed her left hand, the thread of metal round the third finger not more polished than the flesh it bound. With children? No. Again, she sounded cautious. But I've not been married long, she quickly added, and more quickly still, defiantly. The truth is, she rapped out, I was married only this morning. His face went blank, and she began to tell him about her life. When I was a little girl, I thought everyone else had two navels. Oh, you smile. You've never had to face a fact that was yours only, not general data. You were a nice boy, weren't you, Doctor? And lovingly sheltered. I can see that. You always lived in the world where people have the right number of navels. But I shared, or thought I shared, that world only when I was very little. I was the Eve of Apple at 5 years old. That was when I found this out. I was walking with my doll one hot day in our garden, and we came to a pond with a goldfish in it. I decided that Minnie was my doll, that she wanted a wash. So So we sat down by the pond, and I discovered that she only had one navel. I felt so sorry, I cried, rocking her naked little body in my arms, trying to comfort her, and promising not to throw her away like the others. And then I became thoughtful. The day was growing dark all around me. It was going to rain, but who was I sorry for? Which of us was wrong? I sat very still by that pond, my tears flowing and the raindrops starting to fall. I carefully examined Minnie again, and when I found that she had other parts missing, I grew calmer. But I had grown crafty too. Nobody must know that I suspected. Poor Minnie would have to be sacrificed because I had torn her clothes off and could not put them back again. I hardly noticed the thunderstorm as I hunted around for a string and a big stone. I tied the stone to Minnie, kissed her for the last time, and dropped her into the pond. I threw in my bracelet too. Then I ran home soaking wet and told the grown-ups that a thief had grabbed me and had stolen my bracelet and my doll. They didn't believe me. Of course, there was always armed guards planted all around our house. If you pushed a chair, you bruised the detective. But everyone pretended to believe. Nothing happened to me, except that night. In my dreams, the goldfish ate up poor Minnie, and I was there in the pond watching, and I was not sorry. After that was like Eve after the apple. I was very careful about keeping myself well covered up, especially when other children around were being careless. I found out about them. They never found out about